When a small business owner applies for an SBA loan to buy that business or buy that building, chances are it's their first time going through the process. A typical small business owner only goes through the SBA loan process once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times through their entrepreneurial journey. And so it's pretty foreign to them. And there's a lot to know. Hey, I'm Ray Drew, an actual SBA lender, and in this video, I'm going to be unpacking some of the most common misconceptions about SBA loans, and I would encourage you to watch to the end so that you don't fall for one of these traps. The first one has to do with being a preferred lender. I speak to small business owners every single day on the phone about financing for their small business. And the only question they really ask to qualify me as a credible source, if they ask anything at all, is, are you a preferred lender? And then I say yes, because I am. And then we move on. And I'm here to tell you that while you should absolutely work with a preferred lender, that doesn't necessarily mean they're qualified to finance your project. Most SBA lenders are preferred lenders. What that means is that they can approve the loan in-house on behalf of the SBA. They don't have to send it out for another approval. But to get that preferred lender status, you only need to close about 5 or 10 SBA loans. So if you're their 11th, do you think they're really qualified to finance your project? Or are you just being their guinea pig as they try to figure things out for themselves? My advice is to drill deeper. Find out how many SBA loans they've closed in the last 12 months, particularly with the type of project you're seeking financing for, and what their approval rate is, what their approval process is. Do they have to get one signature from one credit officer? Is it 2 credit officers? Is it a committee? Are these approvers seeing the loan at the pre-approval stage, or is it the first time they're seeing it at that final approval after you've been working with that lender for 6 weeks? Spoiler alert, that doesn't always end well. My point is this. Just because you're working with a preferred lender doesn't mean you're working with an expert, and you want to work with an expert. Another common misconception about the SBA loan program is that it's a cookie cutter program, kind of like an FHA loan, and nothing could be further from the truth. The SBA guarantee is like silly putty, and each lender molds it how they see fit. There are SBA guidelines to follow, but the lender has a ton of discretion on their part. And some lenders even interpret the SBA rules differently. So you may very well have 2 different SBA lenders saying 2 totally different things. That's normal. Well, it's not normal, it's weird, but it's normal for SBA. So here's what you need to know. Not all SBA loans are created equal. They can vary drastically from lender to lender in terms of process, what they will and won't approve, and structure. Even things like your rate, term, and down payment can vary between lenders. Here's another misconception about SBA. When I talk to my friends about what I do for work as an SBA lender, they always seem to think in their minds that I'm helping tiny little businesses start up. But in reality, I'm doing multi-million-dollar loans for business acquisitions and commercial real estate projects. The truth is that the SBA 7A loan goes up to $5 million. Even really large businesses may qualify for it. In fact, if you're a privately owned for-profit business, it's actually really rare that you're too big for SBA. I've got one more for you, and that is process. When I started in SBA lending back in 2011, everyone thought it took 6 months. That perception has changed drastically over the last decade. Now it's kind of the reverse. In today's day and age, where everything happens instantly, people are shocked when they find out it's going to take 8 to 10 weeks for their SBA loan, which if you've been doing it as long as I have, you know that's super fast. Like, we've come a long way. Here's the skinny on time. There's no standard timeline when it comes to an SBA loan. So if your banker just says 45 to 60 days or 60 to 90 days, they're oversimplifying it, because the reality is if you take your sweet time to turn in the documents, that's going to drag out the process a lot. Can you do an SBA loan in 30 days? Yeah, sure. It's not the norm, but we've done it. There's really no simple way to answer when can we close. First of all, it depends on what type of project you're financing. Take a business acquisition, for example. The timing is going to depend largely on when you sign that executed purchase agreement. Some people don't want to sign that until you have an approval, and then you're going back and forth and negotiating things, and that drags out the process. But that's one of the things you want to get right. Let's say the business requires a specialized license. Well, you need to have that in place before closing. What's the timing of that? If you're financing construction, forget about it. You've got to go through city approvals and permitting, and that could take forever. You're not waiting on the SBA lender at that point, you're waiting on the city. And a simple debt refinance, you can probably knock out in 8 weeks if you approach your underwriting and closing checklists with a sense of urgency. So there you have it. If you found that video helpful and you want more insider tips from an actual SBA lender, go ahead and click that subscribe button because I've got plenty more where that came from.